Hello friends, this is Cindy Brumbaugh from CindyLeeBDesigns.com on take number 5 of this video, but it will get done. So I want to show you this gorgeous card that my friend Debbie Mookie sent me, and this is a standing on its own column center pop-up card. There you go, many different names for it. She was inspired by Iced Images, and the Iced Images lady made a 5x7 card that had the front portion that adhered to 2 columns. Well, Debbie came up with the measurements for this one so we could fit it into an A2 size card, and this mechanism here is all one piece. So I asked Debbie, could I share this with my viewers, because this is absolute perfection. I love these 2 stamps that she used here. The honeybee home for the flower and the bee, and the over here on the blessings of home that's in the January through June mini catalog, both of these she used for the back. And you can see why they paired these together, because they are very, they just really complement each other well. So I decided I was going to make this card, but I was going to use the annual catalog Plentiful Plants. So using some plants and the Perfect Plants dies there. So I'm going to show you how I made this and hopefully do it right the first time. So starting out, you have to have a card base, and this card base is the back of the card here, and it is all the measurements for my card and Debbie's card will be on my blog. Right after the YouTube description, you'll see visit my blog here. Press that link. It takes you right over to CindyLeeBDesigns.com. You can find additional photos and little tidbits over there. Now, these measurements and the products I use are also in the YouTube description, so just look down there. Okay, so we're going to be putting some of this beautiful, I think it is the, what is the name of this? The stamp says Plentiful Plants, I can't remember it, but it'll be on my blog and under the YouTube description. But it has beautiful cinnamon cider bricks in there, and I really thought they popped off nicely off the Cajun Craze. So this is 5.5 by 4.25. That's just a quarter of your 8.5 by 11. So that means the cinnamon cider brick wall is 5.25 by 4. So we're just going to go ahead and adhere that to the back of our card. I love how this card stands on its own. It's got its, and then you're just gonna have a nice 1/8 inch border the whole way around. And forgive me if I'm not perfectly straight because of the angle I'm standing at. So there we go. Make sure my camera's not messing up. One of my takes, my camera battery died. I didn't realize it wasn't fully charged. So there we've got our back. Okay, so now we want to make that mechanism that folds with the columns. Now that piece of paper is going to be 4.25, but it's 9.5. So you're not going to be able to use like a half sheet of your paper. Now we eventually want to get it into having these little columns here. Now you'll notice that the little folding part here is a little shorter, which is perfect way Debbie did that so that you didn't have bulkiness there when it folds flat. So that's the mechanism we're going to be making. So you'll get out your, I'm going to use my stamping, I'm going to move my light over here a little bit better. I'm going to use my Stampin' Trimmer here. If you're using your scoring tool, you'll be kind of going the opposite way, but you're going to put that 9.5 inch side up at the top. I have a few people asking me about this wind tape. I got this on Amazon, and it helps me to, since we don't have the measurement on the top on this trimmer, I just put it across there. It reads from right to left. And then even though I'm at 3 inches here, I can use these really perfectly, even if this isn't perfect. Okay, so we are going to score at 1/2 inch. So we're going to use our light gray scoring tool there, scoring blade. So 1/2 inch, and then we're going to go to 1.25. So 1.25. And then we're going to go to 2 and 2 3/4 and then we're going to go over to 6 3/4, so we have that 4-inch section right in the middle here. Now at this point you can add your dimensions up, or you can just flip this over and do 1/2, 1 1/4, 2, 2 3/4. But I will go ahead and pull out the arm on my trimmer, and I'm going to go to 6 3/4. So 6 3/4, and then 7 1/2, 7 1/2, 8 1/4, 8 1/4. Make sure I'm there. 8 1/4. Yes, 8 1/4, and 9. And again, you can just flip your paper and repeat those 1, 2, 3, up to 2 3/4 if you want. Okay, so we're going to put this away because we're done with our trimmer. Okay, so now the next thing is, why is this put together already? Because I showed you how to put it together in my last video that I made before this video, and then realized I forgot to cut the hole out, and you can't do that when it's already glued together. But you know, I'm going to do something with this. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to look and concentrate on this 4-inch section here. So it's 4 1/4 by 4. So the paper that's going to fit in there is going to be 4 inches tall and 3 3/4 wide. So what we're going to do though is we're going to cut this piece first, because we want to make this rectangle cut out of the designer series paper so that when we put it on, we can cut out this one. Okay, I'm going to show you how we're doing that. Okay, so what we're going to do is take the rectangle, the smaller rectangle, and it just happens to be on this card that it's 3 3/4, and this rectangle, if you go and you put that down right about, it goes a little, did I put it there? Let me see. I want to make sure that I measured this correctly. Yeah, this is a little bit off. Let me just trim that to 3 3/4. Okay, this one is 4, and then 3. I think I will not do that because I cut one on my guillotine cutter and one on my trimmer, and if you cut just a sliver off the trimmer, it gets all bunchy and cruppy. So we're just gonna eyeball this, but you're gonna have about a little, 3, there we go. And you just kind of have the same amount of space on the top and bottom and the left and right. Just about a little over the 3 mark, the 3/4. 3 of those little ones. And I'm going to run this through my Stampin' and Cut and Emboss machine. And just to save us trouble of knocking everything over if we were doing it on, now where did my cutting plate go? Okay, here we go. There it is. Okay. And I'm just going to run that through my machine, and I'm going to let you just gaze at that gorgeousness of a card. And I'm going to roll this through my Stampin' and Cut and Emboss machine, and you'll see here that that tape kept that in place nicely. And then I'm just going to, and I pull that through like that. And then this piece, now make sure you save that for something else. So this piece is going to go and get adhered now into that scored middle section, okay? And actually this is a little bit off, so I'm going to, let me see here. We'll use this one for the purposes of demonstration. So the next thing you'll do is you're going to take the, oh, I know why this is off. Guess what? You use 2 different rectangles. You use the bigger rectangle first. Oh gosh, I was wondering why this was off. You use your bigger rectangle, okay? So you use the biggest rectangle. I was wondering, why is this off? This is not measuring up. Okay, but that is an easy fix. Okay, so I was wondering, why is this not working for me? It's just not the right, okay, you use the bigger one first on the designer series paper. Your bigger, okay, so this time I'm gonna put this over. I normally wouldn't put that on the designer paper, but let's see, okay. So that is straight. We'll pull this up and I'm gonna take this through my machine. I was wondering what is wrong here. I mean, the 5th time couldn't be. Gosh, that's why, well, I'm really not putting this off to the last minute. It's just the fact that a whole bunch of things came up that weren't supposed to come up. Okay, so that makes sense. You use your bigger rectangle on your designer series paper, okay? So I was wondering, why does that look off to me? Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm just carefully, because these stitched rectangles are really grab the paper, so especially whenever you're doing designer series paper, just have a gentle hand there when you're pulling it off. Okay, there we go. Ah, there we go. Okay, so that was the big rectangle. Now this is our little rectangle that we're going to use on our cardstock. So see, this now will get adhered to the card. Huh, I'm so glad I figured that out. Okay, so I'm going to put down my silicone mat because I have a way of getting glue on. So you're now going to take that piece of designer series paper that you cut out with your bigger rectangle. Use your larger die. If you're using circles or ovals, it's the larger one. The larger one, okay? So now we're going to put that into this middle section and make it have a nice 1/8 inch border. And that's why it's nice to do glue. It's kind of hard to see with the score lines, but there we go. So we have that, and you'll see how now to create this border, that's where you put the smaller rectangle in. So here's our smaller rectangle, and we just pop that right in there, and you can see when we cut that out, cutting it out is naturally going to leave that cardstock there. So we're just going to pop that over into our die cut machine. And let me grab my acrylic plate. Okay. I hope my husband's sleeping soundly. He went to bed early, and everything, all the noise really travels here. Now, notice, I don't care that I have these marks into my paper here because you're not going to see that. But if you were doing a card and you were cutting the front of it out, this is what's going to happen to the inside of your card. So make sure you use a new plate, or some people put down another piece of like copy paper or something that doesn't pick up those little striations that are caused by the scratches in your acrylic plates. You can also use a chrome plate that they have for die cutting machines. And I'm going to get my little adhesive remover because I got a little bit of glue on there because I am a hot mess tonight. Okay, so there we go. We have this, and see, I just noticed that my acrylic plate had some marks in it, but I don't think you're gonna really notice it too much. Okay, so this is what you're going to have before you make your columns. And isn't that cool how that creates that border there? Now, if you wanted to, you could have just taken and cut out the smaller rectangle out of your cardstock and then made your own border, but this is the easy way, and I think the best way to do it. Okay, so now we're gonna put we're gonna use our our silicone craft mat, and we're gonna put some nice strong adhesive on these 1/2-inch sides here, these 1/2-inch flaps here on our cardstock. Okay, I used my Stampin' Seal Plus. You could also use your tear tape. And the reason I didn't use tear tape is because the other 4 videos I started out, my hands were all fiddly with it. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're going to fold over all of these score lines that we've made because we're going to make that column right now, okay? And then this last section, okay. Now, when we go to do this, okay, you're going to fold the first 2 sections down. So you'd have 1 3/4 section and the 1/2 inch section, okay? And those are nice and flat. If you want to, you can take your bone folder and you can score that nicely. And then you're going to keep it nice and flat and you're going to fold it over and press it down, okay? That's going to make a perfect column. Look at that. Ah, perfect. And notice that this 1/2 inch section is shorter than the 3/4 inch sections that we scored, so you don't have all that bulk in the corner. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, so we have these 4 sections, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to fold over 2 sections, which would include the 1/2 inch smaller one and then the 3/4, and you can score that. Burnish it. And then we're going to keep it nice and flat, and we're going to fold it over, keeping it flat, and we're going to press it down. And you can see that you have 2 of those sections there, and you've got another perfect column. Okay, now look how pretty that is. Now, to get this piece onto here, you can technically put it on grid paper, but if you don't have grid paper and can measure 3/4, the way that I find to do this is the part that's going to be down is this section right here. So let's just, now remember, this is the section, and if you have to remember this way, then mark it somehow. Okay, that's the part that gets adhesive. Okay, so the reason I'm doing that is because I want to make sure I did it right. Okay, so I'm going to put, because that's the part that goes down, double checking, and I'm going to put my really strong adhesive there, which is I'm going to do it this way here because I'm not seeing I think I'm just doing it. I got a lot of adhesive there. Okay. So what we're going to do is, the way this card folds is it will fold to this side. So press this down so you can see this through the window. Uh-oh, I almost made another mistake. Okay, before we do that, we need to put a little piece of acetate in there. Okay, see this acetate here on Debbie's card? I think I showed you at the beginning of the video, or it may have been in another video, but it's a really cool thing that she did. She put that piece of acetate in there, and you can see it's where it is, and that was to hold the flower because it needed something to adhere to. So she put a piece of acetate. Now, I wasn't sure when I was making this card how much I would need, so I filled the whole thing with acetate. So I have a little piece of acetate that's going to fit right over that section. Just measure that section, and then I'm just going to put a little bit of my strong adhesive there. And I also should have done that before I made my columns, but that is not going to be too big of an issue. I'm going to put a little bit of glue in here. Whenever I post this on my blog, I will tell you, I'll explain it as I do it, because you do want to make sure that you don't miss one of the steps, you know. So that's the acetate that goes in there. Now let me see here. Okay, so you have that little piece of acetate in there. Now you'll be able to adhere onto that. Okay, Cindy, take a deep breath. Okay, so now, like I said, we are going to be putting these this adhesive down on here, but we want it to be nice and even on both sides. So if you fold this down, okay, to where you're seeing that part on the inside, and you put it right against there, it's going to adhere right where it's supposed to, see? Because this part is not adhering, it's this part here that will. So once you do that, fold this one over so that you see it on the inside. and then push it. This side will work, it will work. Put that side up against the edge and make it flat. And you can see that when you do it that way, it lays nice and flat, and it goes flat both ways. And score, score, okay. And there we go. And that is our card, and we're going to use this one because I got some glue on that one. So now we have this card here. We've got this acetate in the inside here so that we can adhere something to it. Now I love the way Debbie did this, so I kind of copied that idea, and I wanted to put a little bar across there, and I just stamped that in Cajun Craze to match my cardstock, and I left it a little more room on the left side because I'm going to hang one of these pots here from the die cut set. So I'm actually I kind of weaved that into the inside of our the little hanger that's in the dies. And so I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive on the back of my pot, and I stamped that and cinnamon. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I want to snip off just a tad of this pot so that it's not showing on my planter. And then, oh, and I want to show you a little tip that I do whenever I am stamping things like this. I want to make sure, I don't know if you, of course, if you watch my videos, you know I've showed you this many times, but an easy way to make sure you get the perfect amount of white around your stamps is, now where is my pot? Okay, here's my pot. Okay, so I would just take and I would ink up my image, and then I stamp it. After I stamp that image, I die cut it out of a piece of scrap paper. Then I come back over and I put that negative exactly perfect, and I tape it down on my plate for my die cutting machine, and then I take the die and I stick it right in. It just fits right in that hole, and then when you run that through your embossing machine, you will have a perfect cut. So that is a tip, and you can see I did that with all of the pieces that I did. I stamped them, and then I put my negative around it, and then I put the die inside it, ran it through, and I get a perfect die cut each time. Okay, so I'm going to adhere the pot there, and then I'm just going to put a little bit of glue. I also got these on Amazon, and these are just called applicator bottles, precision applicator bottles. And isn't it funny how I pull things out and then I put things away, and I'm just gonna get a little bit of glue here. And of course this little guy doesn't want to work for me right now. There we go. And it just gets a little bit of glue, really nice. And then I'm gonna just adhere the bottom of this macrame hanger to my pot. Okay, cooperate here. I've got so much glue on my fingers. Okay. There we go. And if you have any little bit hanging out just because of, just snip it a little bit. Oh, I see, I should have went a little bit over because I can see some white there on my pot. Okay, so there we go. And because I put the acetate on here, I can adhere my pot right to the acetate. Now this is bothering me that I don't have this on here just perfect there. So I'm just going to snip a little bit of this off. Do a little selective surgery there on my die cut. Okay, so then I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive on the back of my die cut, and I can hang it right onto that acetate. Is that cool or what? There we go. I think I'm going to hang it up to right there, and then I'll adhere it down, and then I can just pop this right. Actually, I think I might just do a little snip here and pop that under there, because it doesn't it can fold. No, it can't. It has to go under here, doesn't it? This is what happens when you're making the card right. Okay, so we are going to, why don't we just put that right off to the side here. Oh, that's what we'll do. We'll put it off to this side because it, yeah, I was trying to push it over that side. Okay, duh. Okay, so let's just put a little bit of, doesn't matter, we can put the adhesive wherever we want to because we have the acetate. So we're gonna pop this, all right. Do you know what? You guys are just gonna have to figure out how I end up doing this. How did I have that? Well, I'll show you what I did on this card here. What I also wanted to show you that I did is, where is it? Over here. Okay, now I can't find it. I also had another pot made. Okay, so why don't you guys just come back whenever let's just put it right like this. There we go, to a dear friend. There we go. So you have a really cute, see, I told you I couldn't, this was just absolute perfection. So we've got this cute little pot that can hang right on there. And I'm gonna do a little bit of doctoring on here and put the hanger to go up a little bit. But then I just decided on the back that we would just do some stamping of our flowers. And the nice thing about this stamp set is you can build up the flowers and the pots. Okay, here's my cinnamon cider, and you can, it's photopolymer so you can see through it, which is great. And so I'm just going to put my pot. Oh, there's it. I was wondering where my pot was. I don't even have to worry about this here. This goes on the other card, so we are going to finish off that card. Okay, so on the back of this one, the one thing about this is a very big piece of foliage here. I'm going to wipe this off with my chamois here. Did you know I thought I would come upstairs and do this video in 15 minutes and I would be done? And now I think I've been up here for 2 hours and I need to get up at like 4:30 in the morning for that surgery. Okay, so let's put our plant there, and then let's put our cinnamon cider pot underneath it. There we go. And then let's do a cute little love you. And I think I'm going to do the love you in the green as well. Okay. And so that way this card can be any type of occasion for you. Yeah, that's straight. That seems like it's not straight. Let's get this straight here. Love you. There we go. So that's the back of our card. So let's put that on the back of our card. We'll just put some adhesive in the little corners of the back. And that back is 5 1/4 by 4 to fit right on the back. And maybe do this before your card's done too. Okay, so we've got, Oh, darn. This is not my day. Okay, so that's going to be the back of your card without the smudge. All right, but I want to come back to this card because I liked putting this pot on here too. So we are going to adhere this little pot to our acetate. And I wanted to show you could do that hanging pot, or you could put this pot with the there, and then we're going to go ahead and do a sweet sentiment there. And I have that sentiment. I have the love you, and I have this sentiment that says to a dear friend, and we're going to stamp that in our oh, I want to do that in Cajun Craze because it really pops off there. Okay, so we're going to cut this to, let's see here, we're going to push that under. So let's see, let's measure that and this would all be dependent on what stamp set you're using and what size your sentiments are. So let's take a little measure. I would say I'd want to do that about, let's see, if we push that under there, let's say 2 1/4. So I'm going to cut that at 2 1/4 and then stamp. I'm going to go 2 1/2 actually. And I'm hoping that this fits on here. And it does. Something. Okay, so where'd my Cajun Craze go? Cajun Craze, to a dear friend. And stamp that there. To tell you the truth, my idea was to put, okay, so I want to switch over, put here, I'm gonna put that under there, and look how pretty that is, okay? And you know, if you have some extra little foliage pieces, which I had some that I was playing around, you could also stick those down in there too, like that. Looks pretty. Oh, I kind of like that. I'm gonna play around with that and see, but like I also have this other piece that's in the that's set, so you could really make it you know, look a little bit fuller. I kind of like that. I wish you guys were here and you could tell me if you like it full, or maybe this piece down in here. I kind of like that. I might just do that. Wouldn't that be fun if we could be like crafting together? So there, I got a nice full plant, the dear friend, and then on the back would be, let's cover that up, yes. Then a really pretty thing there. Okay, so this is a very easy card once you follow the directions. I thank my friend Debbie Mookie for showing me this. This is so, I love her card. But of course, I had to come up with something different, and I'm gonna play around with this a little. I might put a few more things, who knows, maybe there might be some greenery coming down from there. So tune back into Cindy Lee B Designs and see what I came up with, because I had to get the video done, but I have a little more time before it has to get posted. Thanks for putting up with me. I really enjoy the comments that you leave, and thank you again for your patience. Thanks for buzzing by, friends.